So let's fly over the Ikhala TVET college campuses. Now, they're located in the northern part of the Eastern Cape with the Orange River as its boundary. So what I've done is I've gone to one of the sources of the Orange River, high up in the Maluti Mountains, high up in Lesotho. And what we have here is we have the Mohale Dam. And this dams up one of the major sources of the Orange River. It's got a tunnel which can take this water and transfer the water all the way through to the Katse Dam, and from there up to Gauteng and to the industries and the mining and the massive industrialization that's going on in this area. So in South Africa, we've never been scared of engineering, whether it be of this kind of physical kind or whether it be of the more human kind. You can see that we're in the Lesotho highlands and we're going to move down, tracking the Sentuyama River, which is the river which feeds the Orange River. And we're in this extraordinary land, this land which managed to secure its independence from the rest of South Africa, but a land of incredible poverty. And most of their funding actually comes from the water. The South African government pays Lesotho for the water. And on top of that, a lot of the electricity comes from the hydro project. So, we're involved in technical and vocational education. And you've got to hope that our engineering students and many of our other students who've got all sorts of technical skills get involved in projects like this. But at the same time as that, you've also got to hope that they understand the consequences of these kinds of moves, the possible environmental damage that could be done, and the human damage. So, for example, HIV in this area exploded because of the workers coming to this area, making Lesotho now one of the highest areas for HIV. So now we're flying down to our first Ikhala campus. And just to say that Ikhala means aloe. It's a symbol of the Eastern Province, not of some king. It's a beautiful, strong plant that survives harsh conditions. It's got that beautiful red poker. And Ikhala College tries to stand for the Eastern Cape as a whole, not one particular zone. And we'll find out why as we tell the story. Now, the Sterkspruit campus offers office administration. You can do civil engineering here. You can do human resource management. You can do business management. And you can do public management. Now, I want to talk about two things in this area. Number one, just to say that it's an incredibly well-run municipality. It's been receiving awards left, right, and center for doing a sterling job, which in the small neck of the woods, far out, caught between the Free State and the Cape and Lesotho, you have this example of municipal excellence. But this area was also a place of massive struggle. And just like we had a situation where we saw the Lesotho Water Highlands project trying to deflect the water which flows all the way through the Orange into the Vaal, all the way from the Cape into Gauteng, so over here we had a situation where for hundreds of years this has been an attempt to push black people into this area so that the white people could actually get the better land and the better farms. So this little Sterkspruit area, Herschel and Lady Grey around here, was all a part of the reserves. When Glenn Grey basically got in charge of parts of South Africa, what would happen is the white farmers would take the better land and then they'd push the blacks that they'd dispossessed into these small pockets of reserves all the way around. And you can see the difference, the massive contrast between on the one side Sterkspruit and on the other side Allowell North. Just take a look. I mean, what you see is the Orange River. And I think that river over there is called the Kraai River, which runs across, and that's where Allowell North started. And just take a look at the difference between the agriculture over here. You can very clearly see it's commercial agriculture. You can very clearly see that it's running a profit, making some money, in comparison to the struggling subsistence agriculture, which has stripped the area around Sterkspruit. Now, the Allowell North campus offers a couple of programs. You can do office administration, you can do hospitality, tourism, you can do HR, you can do business management, and you can do public management over here. And we're going to kind of fly in now into the actual town of Allowell North. And just to say, we've been working with lots of renaming of places in the Eastern Cape and in lots of the other provinces. But if ever there was a town that should be renamed, it's this one. Allowell North isn't even some kind of white leader or, like Louis Trichardt or something like that. It's named after a battle between the Sikhs and the British in India, because the guy that was in charge of this area, Harry Smith, had fought and won a battle there. So there's a case for renaming. Now, as we pull out, what I want you to do is I want you to bear in mind that even though this is a classically apartheid town, you can see to your left the township Dukatole, and to say that there's proud resistance from this area. What happened was, in the 1980s, there was an enormous attempt in this whole area to resist the whole apartheid attempts to re-engineer South Africa, because they'd suffered the most. I'm going to try to talk to that as we move along. But a whole bunch of students were shot at Dukatole. Now we're moving into the old Queenstown area. Take a look. You'll see on your left the old Ciskei locations, and on the right, where we're flying into now, the Transkei locations. Now this is an extraordinarily beautiful piece of land. And around 150 years ago, the Tembu and the Xhosa peoples would send their cattle up here, and their cattle would graze. There were lots of bushmen living up here and sand. I don't want to paint a picture of tranquility and happiness. It wasn't like that. But this was basically the northern extent where the various Nguni tribes that were moving down were sending their cattle. Now, this Queen Nonesi campus is so named because she's one of the queens of the Tembu people, and it's located next to like a cultural village. So it does quite a lot of tourism kinds of things, and the people who study here can actually stay in that local area. So you can do things over here like office administration, you can do tourism, you can do farm management, which is great, and you can do public management as well, and you can do occupational programs. Now what you can see on the right hand side is you can see and I hope I can say this right, the Konka Dam, and it's been providing water to Queenstown recently because of the massive drought that's been going on there. Now we're going to fly into the old Queenstown area, and the first place I want to fly into is the Ezibeleni campus, and you can see it's located quite a distance from Queenstown. Now what happened was, all the area you can see stretching above you to your top and to your right was allocated to the old Transkei. And then what happened was, in the 1980s, the South African government insisted that all the black people staying in and around the Queenstown area were forced to relocate and move out to Ezibeleni. So it's got a hectic history of struggle. Now, this is not only a campus, it's also the central office and the admin center. And over here you can do a lot of the engineering related programs. So you can do civil engineering construction, you can do electrical infrastructure construction, you can do engineering and related design, you can do civil and electrical and mechanical engineering, you can do water and waste treatment practice. Now, just to note with Ikhala that none of the actual campuses have any residences. So now I want to pull out of Ezibeleni because I want to try and give you a sight of what the human engineering going on in this area, because as we saw with the Lesotho Highlands project, we had like natural kind of physical engineering, and this area suffered the consequences of a massive attempt to re-engineer South Africa into not only black and white but different tribal zones. So over here there was a terrible struggle between the Ciskei on the one side and the Transkei on the other side for ownership, which then forced people, especially from the Sterkspruit area which we'd just been to, it forced those people to move away from the area and relocate here. Now take a look at the Queenstown campus. You firstly take a look at that hexagon. Now that hexagon was built as like a kind of defensive mechanism, so if ever the town was attacked by the black invading hordes, they could put cannons and guns in the middle and then shoot the people as they were charging down the streets. It was never used like that. Now this is the old technical college campus. It's a very nice campus. It's got great facilities and it offers finance, economics and administration. It offers management. You can do IT and computer studies. You can do office administration, business management, HR management, and public management. And to say that there have been protests here recently, and also to say that around 2012, the Ikhala College had basically been run into the ground. There was enormous corruption. Blade and Zamunda came, cleared house, people basically got fired. I don't know if anyone went to jail, but there was certainly extensive corruption. But what's happened more recently at this college is there's been a strong turnaround, and it's now a well-run and well-managed setup with the infrastructure slowly but surely improving. So Ikhala can now stand for what it's named for. It can stand for being a symbol of the Eastern Cape. And to say that the reason why it's tried to name itself after the Eastern Cape and not after some particular king is because it's this area which has experienced massive vicissitudes, massive struggle of apartheid and earlier to try and turn them into various assorted tribal groupings. And this is the place not of the tribal king, but it's the place which is named after people like Chris Hani, after black consciousness, Joe Gabi. That's the name of the districts in the area, because there's a recognition that what this place has stood for is a fighting against old tribal traditions and apartheid attempts to socially engineer, and instead stand for people standing together rather than apart, even though it's this area which has suffered the worst from the attempt to keep people apart. And that's why I think Ikhala as the name for this college is really worthwhile.